Okay, it is a Friday, 9:23 a.m., September 10, and this is the main watch list. I still have to really look over it and do some more adjustments, but today is a Friday. I have the least amount of sleep, so I'm going to take things cautiously because I've learned from my just from my tracking that I tend to do my worst on Friday, either because I have sleep deprivation or maybe I am just trying to push it because I won't be trading until Monday. And I said, alright, well, I have to do something nice now. I just have to let the setups come to me if that happens, and if that does happen, I have to take them and not hesitate. PBYA could be a morning panic bounce play. Ideally, it does something nice, but because of what I've learned from RGBP the other day, right, it might be something where I can actually consider a long if it does like a red or green move. So maybe it has like a morning panic, and then after that morning panic it goes green, or maybe it tries to, then it fails, and then it, like RGBP, puts up a higher low, and then it actually holds it, spikes, and then it drops to that level, and it's like a confirmed breakout past that red to green line. And that might actually be something that I can try and hold for a longer period of time, because it's not a quick morning panic bounce play. That's something that you might hold until you stop seeing it put higher lows or higher highs. So that could be an idea here with PBYA. LKNCY is trying to have, I guess not anymore. At one point it was at 1650. It's just a weird toxic stock, but in theory, all this thing needs is some nice news or some big price action, nice volume, and this thing could really do some kind of an uptrend and maybe squeeze a lot of shorts. But I don't know, it might not do anything. ILUS could be a morning panic bounce play, because I feel like it's been up enough at times, although it hasn't really had 3 consistent green candles. It does have this just nice overall move, and it does seem like it can have big red candles, so that might be a nice move. But my worry is that it has a big red candle, a big red panic, and it just doesn't bounce. ELIL, I probably won't be interested in this one unless it wants to be one of the different recent runners that will actually continue for more than a day or two. ISWH, this one could be a morning panic bounce play too, because it's had, at least this one, 3 consistent green candles, but I will be more cautious with it because it is a higher priced OTC, and those don't seem to really work that well. At this point, I'll be looking to see if there's anything that has news, any OTCs that has news, to see if I can maybe add it to the other watch lists, and perhaps they can have a nice morning spike or something like that. But this is what I have for right now. Alright, it is 9:51 a.m. and I missed the first dip towards VWAP. This one was super sketchy, right? It went from 2 pennies all the way to 9.4 pennies, which is insane. The percent change is huge, and this is just something that if you didn't see it happening, you didn't see its move, because it kind of just broke out of this range, and obviously has a whole lot of volume that's making this move. So this thing was kind of sketchy because at the time you can see how much the VWAP can fluctuate, and the problem was that as it was starting to head down here, sometimes VWAP would show this thing maybe at 56 for the setup, and then sometimes it would go up to 65, and I just pretty much hesitated because it was a bit too jumpy, the VWAP, especially this one, considering the range it trades with. Am I going to try to consider it again? Maybe not, even though it did work with that other stock yesterday, especially if VWAP is like on a downtrend. But this could have been the setup right here. I could have been in at, I think I have my limit at 6.8. It did get as high as freaking 86, which would have been pretty cool, but I probably wouldn't have sold anywhere near that high. Maybe I would have sold in the 70s. Anyway, this thing just trades with a lot of volatility. It's a very sketchy stock, so I would have traded something tiny just to get some trading experience. Not even necessarily because I want to be, just trying to make a home run, although this thing definitely moves like a stock that could do something like that. ILUS, I was watching this for a very long time to see if this thing could maybe hold the green to red line right here, and it didn't. It broke under it. In theory, my idea would have been that it would have held itself together and then broke past this 14.65 level, and then make some kind of a nice continual run up, maybe squeeze whatever shorts might be into this because it's doing it again. But we didn't get that, and that's totally fine. Okay, and see why it's just being sketchy. I might remove it. It's just sketchy. This one I'm gonna remove too because it's not trading with volume. ISWH. This one isn't really doing anything that I like. It's trading weird as well. So I'll just continue to look at AGGI and just continue to look for more setup opportunities. No morning panic bounce plays. PBYA traded like crap. Maybe in theory I could have been in at 111. There was a time when I could have considered it, but it just kind of trades all weird, and I don't mind missing that. So that's all I got for right now. Alright, it is 10:19. I ain't watching ILUS for maybe like a rather green move. The only issue, or it's not really that much of an issue, but the difference between this one and RGBP is that RGBP was having a nice downtrend, and ILUS here is still having an uptrend. So the idea is that it goes red on the day, it goes green, and maybe it holds green, and then it continues putting up higher lows or something like that, and it tries to stretch this out further. There is going to be resistance in the way, so it's not really as nice as RGBP was the other day, which is up today, I believe. Yeah, it's up another 10%. Pretty nice to look at, and I haven't really checked. Maybe PBYA is doing something similar to that. Maybe, but the volume here is disgusting. And yeah, that could be the idea there. ISWH, I just have it here. I really don't want to trade this. I don't see anything here that I like. The price action is horrible. Okay, I missed this one. ETST did break this 55 level. This is the time right now. We just have like these crazy LTC runners with super tiny floats, and they just move with so much volatility. It is very sketchy, very scary, but that's a nice breakout. Even if I had seen it, I don't know if I would have been executed. AGGI, this one just got a lot crazier, and I was actually very close to buying it here in the 89 level, but what really kind of annoyed me was that the bid and the ask started to lift up to like 93, which was a bit higher at the time from this 89 level, and then it kind of dropped lower. That really threw me off because I've seen stuff like that fail where something is at its highs and the bid and the ask just lifts up but nobody's taking it, and then it comes back to normal, and then people start dumping their shares and they get out of it. So this one did not do that. It clearly worked, and if I were to have traded it, I was only interested in like a tiny freaking just trading 1,000 shares, which would have been like 89 bucks, and that still would have been profitable considering how crazy this one is. I have no intentions on trading this one anymore. Maybe if it touched VWAP quickly, I would consider it maybe, but it just has a lot of range, and I just don't really want to trade stuff like that. It's really sketchy, very scary. I will continue to look at ILUS, but I don't see anything really incredible right now. This thing might be having a downtrend here, but in theory, if it puts up a higher low and starts working past this rather green move, maybe that could be something nice. I'm very new at some kind of setup like this, so it's just speculative. I'm just trying to learn more setups, but yeah, we have some crazy OTC runners right now. Alright, it is 10:52. I'm not extremely sure when was the last update, but I did consider just recently a buy at 14.35, but is it really gonna do much? We have higher lows. Here's a low, and then higher low, higher low, higher low. We kind of have like a double top right here at this 14.48 level, and then of course the main level, the break, would be this 14.65 level. I put in an order at 14.35. Maybe I would have been executed here, who knows, but it was between these two levels, and I was just sitting there. It didn't get executed. I don't know if I went over this ETST. Let's look at ETST for 9.55. That was around here. Yeah, what happened was that I just maybe saw some price action showing that this thing was going to uptrend. right? And it did break out the day high right here, and it did get just a little higher to 60, but that was all it did. So, you know, it wouldn't have been very much. I mean, it would have been profitable if I sold there, but that's all it did. It did dip under VWAP. This one I wouldn't have traded because it went under it, and it was like a Twitter pump, so this thing could have very well just faded away. I don't mind missing that, although it did do a nice move to 67. AGGI, I did see this descending triangle. The level to break would have been this 1130-ish level, lower highs, and then this level is kind of holding itself, and then it broke here. It could be support at VWAP, so this thing looks like it's gonna die off. It could reverse, sure, but it's no longer like the ones that go up, you know, an even massive level like, you know, 800% or something crazy, or 1,000. I mean, it could still do it, but probably not, because it is starting to, at least here, get to that VWAP level. And the ones that really seem to work, they just float at that level. Let's see if ILUS does it. It's not the same again as RGBP because it's up. You know, it's at its highs. It's not at its lows, and there is resistance back here. But that's the idea there. That's all I got. Really, I'm just gonna look at ILUS and see how it does. In theory, I could be in at 14.35, but I don't know. It is trading kind of slow, but you know, I'll definitely learn from this. Alright, it is 12:59, and I want to make an update. ILUS broke out of this range here at 481. It got as high as 1521. There is a lot of people on the ask, but this thing can't continue an uptrend. It had a lot of volume. This is, however, you know, midday, give or take. So there is some risk to it, but obviously this thing can continue the uptrend. And really my ideal level was, I think it was, yeah, 1439 was the level I was really thinking of. I hope in the future this rather green price action, this kind of move can be something that I can trade in the future, and not just trade, but trade with like a nice size. It's something, you know, it is annoying, OTCs. I mean, that's just the way they are. They trade with low volume sometimes, and they kind of do all these crazy, you know, things, but that is something I want to be able to get better at. This is a second example of one working that I've really have considered. The other one was RGBP. Different case again, because RGBP was at its lows, and this one is having its second day, and here ILUS is like a continuation at its high. So hopefully this can be something that I can really push myself to get forward, you know, trading these. So that's something I look forward to. ISWH, nothing. I wouldn't have traded this. This would have been kind of weird. I don't like the price action. ETST is just hanging in there, actually holding itself better than AGGI, which is continuing the downtrend. I saw the, you know, the descending triangle, I think here. It also plays at this VWAP level, but yeah, that one is definitely fading. I look forward to making an update. I won't trade this because I don't want to feel like I'm chasing it or something crazy, but I think it's going to be a no trade day, and I just look forward to seeing how this thing develops over time. Alright, it is 4:01 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. I think ILUS is another example of a red to green move, so I guess when it comes to a type of setup like this, I should expect it to maybe go red, try to have a downtrend or some kind of bad price action. It comes back, and then it tries to hold itself. I could have been in at this 439 level. That was a level I was really thinking about. And then just, you know, play the setup based on higher highs and higher lows. Here was a low. This one's a kind of like a low, and then this is a higher high. And this is a, you know, higher low, higher high. And then when we had this right here, it was lower than this one. No, it was still, you know, higher, but you can almost call it a double bottom. And I think when it was around here, this is when I thought about the idea, if I had been in, in this trade, I would have considered selling maybe in this 492 level. It did make a lower low from this level here. It did bounce back to now its highs, right? But this was probably when I would have sold at maybe 1491, and I would have been at 1439, which doesn't sound like much, but this is something that I could trade with like a much larger size comfortably. I could have maybe have traded, a 10,000 share position, and that would have been kind of cool for something like this. A little sketchy because it's way off of its highs, but that's totally fine. ISWH never really did anything that I wanted to, with this, so I never traded it. ETST, the Twitter pump, this one faded, and AGGI faded as well. This is the new trend. I need to be less scared maybe with these type of stocks. Although they move with so much range, they offer really nice dip towards VWAP setups. I think it was here when I was interested in it, and I could have been in at 6.8. I probably wouldn't have been there for very long. I would have sold in the 70s, maybe the 80s. No way I would have held anywhere near the highs there. And yeah, that's really all I got. I was also interested in the breakout, I think at 86 or 89. I think 89. It did work. I've seen that fail a couple times, but maybe I just need to adjust, with these type of crazy stocks that turn into a big wick at the end of the day. Very similar, a bit too sketchy to consider shorting these, but this one was kind of, I'm not going to say obvious, but I really saw it happening at the moment, and maybe if this thing was shortable, that would have been kind of possible. Same with AGGI, though this one's a bit harder because, the only thing this really had in its favor was just a lower high. It could have easily have held support and then went up again, but a lower high is kind of significant on something like this that is as crazy as it is. And it did have some space between this spike and this spike. This one was a bit too quick for me to to consider something like that. I don't think it will work anymore. Let's just see. Yeah, this thing is not going to say if it's short. Oh, it is. Okay. I highly doubt it, but let's just see if any of these would have in theory been shortable. I cannot see that. Let me remove it. It seems like it says not available. Alright, so yeah, none of them were shortable. Maybe at the time it was, but it isn't right now. That's all I got. I'm going to call it off. I didn't trade anything, but in theory, again, I could have had that trade with AGGI with that dip towards VWAP and that kind of like consolidation breakout kind of move. And yeah, that's about it. Just looking forward to experimenting more with that red to green move. Again, another example here with ILUS. It might even continue the next day, although it's a bit scary because it's right at its highs. While something like RGBP is more in favor to do something like that, a return. And this one kind of faded at the end of the day, I guess, once it put up a lower high perhaps. That's all I got. I'm going to call it off here. Barely had any trades this week. No ideal morning panic balance plays that I like, except for one that wasn't too bad with DPLS. That's all I got.